Hey everybody, I'm here with a quick video on Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore is getting a lot of heat right now, a lot of smoke. And why? Because there is a writer's strike going on, and these individuals have been on strike for 4+ months. A lot of them are losing their homes, they lost their livelihood, they risk losing their rental properties. They are going through it right now, suffering. And they're suffering amidst where they have the big wigs at the top, where one of them was quoted as saying that they're not coming back to the table to negotiate with these writers until these people are broke down and busted. They want them to lose everything. And they can chill up top. Why can they chill up top? Because many of them, they make millions and millions and millions of dollars a year. Amongst them making their millions, their bonuses are millions per year. So they could care less about the little people. And it's like when you have execs making that much money and you literally cannot throw some pennies, because in comparison to what those execs get, you can't throw some pennies, pennies the writer's way. It's disgraceful. Sometimes I don't know how people sleep at night. And when I say pennies, I don't mean literal pennies, but when you're making millions like that and you got to maybe give up $100,000 so it could trickle down to the little people, is it that serious to you? You really can't do that? But no, there was a top exec that says he wants them to be devastated. He wants them of their homes to foreclose. He wants them to get kicked out of their rental properties. He wants them to come back to the table once they're broken and they don't have anything and they're begging for their jobs back. Because at that point, he's going to negotiate the same thing he was willing to negotiate before the strike, giving them the bare minimum. But see, that's where Drew Barrymore comes in, and all the other talk show hosts that went back to their job or that are going back to their job amid this strike. If those talk show hosts and others would not go back to their job, all of these networks would be forced to show some type of reruns of some show. And the advertisers would not go for that. They're not going to go for all these reruns because their contract, that's not what they signed up for. They signed up for talent, and whatever shows they signed up to run their ads during, they signed up for that talent to do new and fresh shows from this time period to that time period. And if you don't show those new shows, you run the risk of those advertisers backing out. And that is one of the main reasons why they had the 5 fill-ins for the Wendy Williams show when they kept trying to push back, and delay her start date when they knew she was never going to be able to come back to the show because she wasn't well enough. But the contract was already signed and they was obligated to advertisers. And the same thing is happening right now for the Drew Barrymore show, Tamron Hall, Sherry Shepherd, Jennifer Hudson, all of them, all of these daytime talk show hosts. Nobody knew that the writers would be on strike this long. So the contracts were already signed. If these talk show hosts do not go back to the job, they run the risk of losing their talk show because those advertisers are going to pull out and the talk show will be donezo. So Drew Barrymore tried to explain it to the people, where others, they just kept silent, pretty much, kept a little silent. They didn't do a whole fanfare about them coming back because they knew the whole subject would be controversial. Now, that doesn't mean that the other talk shows didn't get some heat, because they did, but they didn't do a whole lot of fanfare. But see, Drew Barrymore has that personality that everybody loves. She's the well-liked talk show host, just happy-go-lucky. And it was tearing her up inside that she had to cross the line, so to speak, and go back to her show amid the strike. So she thought if she did a heartfelt video, the people will understand. It backfired. Now we're going to get more into that story right after this. All right, guys, I'm going to share a screen with y'all so we can kind of get more into this story. So, Drew Barrymore had a simpler way out of this mess. Daytime hosts could lose their shows if they don't work during the strike. Okay, so as Drew Barrymore digs herself into a deeper hole regarding the return of her daytime talk show, Lost in the Debate is a conversation about a peculiar nature of syndicated TV. 1 week ago, Barrymore ignited a firestorm when she announced her show would be returning amid the writer's strike. Okay. In the weeks since, tensions worsened, and Barrymore, normally well liked for her good natured personality, intensified that criticism when she doubled down with a second, now deleted video message. If anything, her attempt to quiet down any criticism had the opposite effect. Now, she deleted the video, so I can't show it now, but I did see it earlier where she's very tearful, make her free, seemed very authentic and honest to me, trying to explain why she had to go back to work, in her opinion. But the writers, they could care less. They wasn't having it because you're saying you saving your job, but in the meantime, we starving and we almost darn near lost stars. And if you would come out here on the line with us and stand by us, those execs would have to come to the table sooner. But because of Drew and many others that decide to go back to work, that helps them hold out even longer because they got some fresh new shows coming from some of their talent. Okay. So Barrymore is at the eye of the storm, but she is not the only daytime host returning this upcoming week. The Jennifer Hudson show is coming back. The Talk is coming back. Okay, Sherry Shepherd is coming back. Karambo is coming back. Tamron Hall and Live with Kelly and Mark, which have already been back on the air. And the ABC's The View, which employs union writers, never ceased production during the strike at a time when many others like The Talk and the Kelly Clarkson show immediately halted last spring. So at the very least, they had The Talk and they had the Kelly Clarkson show that said, okay, we're not doing this to our fellow writers. We're going to stand by them and we're stopping production now. Now, some of these shows have received some heat for returning, including picketing outside a taping of The Talk this week, and White House press secretary pulling out of an appearance on The View, citing respect for strikers. Barrymore, however, was the only host to attempt to get ahead of her return beforehand on social media, declaring that she'd be working during the strikes, immediately making her a target. Strangely, this wasn't part of Barrymore's attempt to explain her return. Syndicated TV shows have contractual obligations to deliver new episodes to their local station partners, unlike network shows like The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel Live, which have permanent real estate on a network schedule. Nationally syndicated daytime talk shows like The Drew Barrymore Show are required to produce a certain amount of episodes to more than 200 local stations throughout each television season. In other words, this was a business decision and not one that Barrymore made alone. Hosts like Barrymore are under contract with major media production companies to perform their hosting duties, and like any other job, they eventually have to show up to work. Syndicated talk shows are typically required to deliver 35 to 40 weeks of new episodes to their station partners. If they don't, they can lose their show. We have 200 clients that we have to deliver original episodes to. It's not a network show. A daytime talk show employee says. With late night, you have one client, and that's the network. Now, shows like Drew and Jennifer Hudson could have pushed back their premiere dates and reconstructed this yearly production schedule in hopes that the strikes would soon come to an end. But with no end seemingly in sight in the current, union situation, um, local stations and advertisers are expecting original content this fall from the shows for which they are paying a hefty license fee to carry, right? So in theory, you could push back your debut if you're concerned about the strike, says Frank. Okay, executive president, vice president of programming for Fox television stations, the station group that carries many national syndicated talk shows, including the Jennifer Hudson show. But he adds there are already more repeats than anybody needs. So the idea of your main talk shows not coming back, that gets a little scary. I mean, I'm gonna connect this article, to the description in this video, but that just gives you some insight on what's going on. And so, indeed, in 2023, when streaming attracts more viewers in the U.S. than linear program, the talk show market is fractured. So they're saying because of Netflix, Prime TV, Apple TV, all of that, many people don't watch regular TV like that anymore because many people drop their cable and they just have these streaming apps. So they said to begin with, even before the strike, these talk shows suffered. Okay, so daytime lineups are now filled of repeat strips of the Dr. Phil show, Judge Judy, Jerry Springer, Maury, and more shows from the past. These old episodes may seem stale, but they boast familiar faces and are easy money and ratings for distributors. Original talk shows like Drew, Jennifer, Kelly Clarkson, Tamron, Hall, Sherry, Live with Kelly and Mark, on the other hand, are expensive productions for an era where fewer people are watching in daytime. Okay, so they're saying it's expensive to run these shows, period. They cannot risk them not having new shows. Okay, more repeats would just be a quicker death march for syndication. Says the exec. It's a critical time, and if there's not a way to do original programming, then you can see the end of national syndication. Okay, but for the writers who also feel they are on a death march, it's important to know that they are fighting for better wages and working conditions in a strike that has now surpassed 4 months. Okay, Drew Barrymore's own writers have spoken out against production returning, while her comments have been flooded with quips such as "We need ET to tell her to go home again." Comedian Andy posted, "A talk show is not a charity or humanitarian campaign. It is it's a money-making machine that can be a fun way to spend an hour. The reason every talk show exists is to publicize products. Their primary function is to be the attractive commercial filling in between actual commercials. To act otherwise, especially during a strike, is just carrying water for the bosses in a diluted, self-important bucket." But for those writers working in daytime, their livelihood depends on these talk shows, each of which employ anywhere from 150 to 200 staffers, including 2 to 4 writers on the team. And releasing a statement to support their host, CBS Media Ventures, which distributes the Drew Barrymore show, said the show is moving forward with an important consideration to our staff and crew, comprised of 150 people, as well as our loyal viewers, right? So, I mean, you can go on and it'll tell you how some of these shows they could push back because they don't have all these advertisers to worry about, and others cannot. And they're saying, Drew is kind of amidst the those that could have, might have pushed back, but she could have only pushed back for so long. Now, listen, I will be 100% honest with you. If I was in Drew Barrymore's position, I don't know what I would do. I would love 100% to say that I would stand with the writers. Okay. In theory, I would definitely want to stand with the writers. Would have stood with them all 4 months, like during the summer months, right? But now you're telling me my livelihood also is dependent upon that check. And I know many people would say, "Oh no, you should just stand by them." But as you see, you got Drew Barrymore, Sherry Shepherd, Tamron Hall. None of them are standing by these writers during this strike. Why? Because all of them need their check. Why? Because if they do stand by them, then they got to have 200 more people on their head that will be out of a job. This is a tough situation. And in this situation, this is going to be my call on this. I do not blame any of the talk show hosts that went back to work or these 150 to 200 staffers. I'm blaming the union. I'm also blaming the execs. They're greedy. They're greedy. But the reason why I'm blaming the union is because every week or 2 weeks or whatever, money is taken out of these people's check to pay for the union. And here comes the time. This is the union's big moment when you really need them. And it's 4 months later and they're still on strike. You don't have anything in your arsenal bag to pull out against these execs to get this job done. And for years, everybody has been paying into that union. And the moment we need y'all, you don't have no big wig lawyers sitting on call. That is to take less than this 4+ months to get us what we want. I'm sure none of these writers are asking for $300,000-$400,000 a year. They're not. They're asking for some fairness, for insurance, a nice salary, some residuals or whatever. This is insane. And all of those top execs that are really sitting there waiting until these individuals lose their homes, everything they worked so hard for. Shame on y'all. Shame on y'all. I don't know how they sleep at night. I really don't. How do you sleep at night? And listen, we all want a nice salary. We all want a big check. And I'm not saying like if you at that top and you got that headache of manning all of this stuff, get your pay. But when the person at top, and I'm going to do a big exaggeration right now, the top person is making 10 million, getting a $3 million bonus every year. And then the person on the low end is barely getting minimum wage. And every time they ask about a raise, you said it's not there, it's not in the budget. That's insane. And I don't know how those people sleep at night. It's sad. Listen, guys, chat with me in the comments. And when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. Do you understand why Drew, Tamron Hall, Sherry Shepherd, and many others have went back to work? Do you think that they should have took the risks and stood by their fellow writers who are currently on strike? And can you honestly say, if you was Drew, Tamron Hall, Sherry Shepherd, Karambo, would you risk losing your job and your livelihood and stand by the fellow writers? Chat with me, guys, and when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. Everybody out there, thanks for watching. It's a serious conversation. What would you do? See you on the next video.